Get out. I don't ever want to see your face again." David's voice cut through the Lagos afternoon like a thunderclap. Mama Grace stumbled, her bag clutched tightly against her frail chest, as he yanked the door open and shoved her out into the scorching street. Neighbors peeked from windows and doorways. Some whispered in disbelief, others recorded with their phones, hungry for scandal. "David, my son, please, I raised you. I fed you. I clothed you," Mama Grace cried, her voice trembling with a mixture of shock and pain. She had given this boy everything, every sacrifice, every ounce of love she could muster. And now, this public humiliation in front of the entire neighborhood. "You gave me nothing but misery," David shouted, his face twisted in anger. "I am done being burdened by you. Get out, Mama Grace. Today, you leave. And you're never coming back." Her suitcase tumbled onto the sidewalk. She caught it, but it was too heavy for her trembling hands. A few children laughed. A neighbor gasped. And Mama Grace felt the weight of every year of sacrifice crushing her chest. For the first time in decades, the woman who had raised him from an abandoned 7-year-old felt truly alone. That night, Mama Grace found herself on the steps of a small church nearby. She wrapped herself in her wrapper, trying to stay warm against the cool Lagos breeze. Her bones ached, but her mind was racing. How had David, the boy she loved more than her own life, become a man capable of this cruelty? Her mind drifted back to the beginning. She had discovered him in the orphanage of Surulere, tiny, hungry, shivering, abandoned. Mama Grace had taken him in, working 2 jobs to feed him and send him to school. There were nights she slept hungry, hands trembling as she counted the money she saved to pay his school fees. She had watched him graduate from the University of Lagos, his bright smile lighting up her heart. And she had thought that love, loyalty, and sacrifice would mean something to him. She had been wrong. Her thoughts were interrupted when she remembered a small, crumpled piece of paper in her bag, a lottery ticket she had bought on a whim 3 weeks earlier. She had given 50 naira to a street vendor and received it as change. Forgotten, lost in the clutter of her life. But here it was, in her bag, staring at her like fate itself. Her hands shook as she checked the numbers. Her heartbeat quickened when the first number matched. Then the second. The third. By the fourth, she could barely breathe. The fifth? She gasped aloud. And when the sixth number matched, tears blurred her vision. She had won $120 million. The next morning, news of her win spread faster than fire in dry grass. Television crews, radio jingles, and social media all announced the miraculous story of a poor Lagos woman suddenly catapulted into wealth. The world knew her name, Mama Grace. And David saw it. "Wait, what?" David shouted, dropping his glass of wine onto the new rug Anita had insisted they buy. Red liquid spread like spilled anger. "Look at this." Anita snapped, grabbing the remote. Her eyes widened as Mama Grace appeared on the screen, a simple Ankara dress framing her radiant, tear-streaked face. She won the lottery? "The same woman you threw out yesterday." "Yes," David whispered, pale. "The same one." For the first time, fear touched him. He realized the magnitude of what he had done, and Anita's eyes, sharp and calculating, flickered with greed. By afternoon, Mama Grace had checked into a modest hotel. She didn't need luxury, not yet. She needed strategy. Reporters crowded the lobby, cameras flashing, microphones thrust toward her. She smiled politely, hiding the fire burning inside her. One journalist asked, "Mama Grace, what will you do with this incredible fortune?" Her voice was soft but deliberate. "I will live. I will breathe again. And I will never be anyone's burden." The crowd applauded, but they didn't see the truth behind her calm eyes. Mama Grace had already begun planning revenge. David and Anita would pay for the cruelty, humiliation, and greed they had shown. Meanwhile, David and Anita plotted. "We can't let her keep that money," Anita hissed, pacing their penthouse apartment. "She owes you. You raised her. The money belongs to you as much as it does to her." David's stomach churned. I don't know. I did what I did." "Then make her forgive you," Anita snapped. or she'll use it all, without a second thought. And you'll have nothing. Do you want to see her surrounded by strangers while you struggle? David swallowed hard. He felt trapped. Greed and shame warred inside him. He picked up his phone and dialed Mama Grace's number. When she answered, her voice was icy. "What do you want, David?" "Mama, please. I was wrong. I don't know what came over me. Can I come see you?" Her silence stretched for a long moment. Then she said simply, "Come." But she wasn't inviting him for reconciliation. She was setting a trap. That night, Mama Grace sat in her hotel room, staring at the ceiling. She thought of the years of sacrifice, the nights she had gone hungry, the moments she had cried quietly so David could have more. And now she had power, $120 million worth of it. A plan formed in her mind, clear and ruthless. She would give David the illusion of forgiveness, the appearance of reconciliation. And then, when the time was right, she would expose him and Anita for what they truly were: greedy, manipulative, ungrateful. She thought about all the neighbors, the friends, the people who had gossiped about her misfortunes. She would make sure they all knew the truth, and that David would be humiliated publicly. And as she lay back, smiling faintly to herself, she whispered a promise: "You will regret the day you called me a burden." The next morning, David arrived at the hotel, nervous and sweating. Anita had warned him to stay calm, but Mama Grace's reputation was larger than life now. As he stepped into the lobby, cameras flashed. Reporters murmured. And Mama Grace, radiant and calm, stood waiting. David took a shaky step forward, and Mama Grace smiled. "You're too late," she said. "I've already started. If you're feeling the tension already, hit like, subscribe, and stay tuned for the next episode of the story. Mama Grace is about to turn her first move into a masterstroke of revenge that David and Anita will never forget." David froze as Mama Grace's words sank in. Cameras flashed, reporters murmured, and the hotel lobby felt like a cage closing in on him. He swallowed hard, trying to mask his panic with a nervous smile. "Mama, I just wanted to." "You wanted to what, David?" Mama Grace interrupted, her voice calm but sharp. "Apologize? Beg? Pretend nothing happened yesterday when you threw me out into the street." He faltered. I made a mistake. You were greedy, ungrateful, and cruel," she said, stepping closer. Her presence was magnetic, controlled, powerful. David felt smaller with every word. The boy who once climbed onto her lap as a child was now a man trembling in front of the mother he had betrayed. Anita, standing slightly behind him, cleared her throat. "Mama Grace, we just want a peaceful conversation. Let's talk this out." Mama Grace turned her gaze on Anita. For a moment, the room seemed to shrink. "Talk? You mean manipulate, like you always do. You've poisoned David's mind against me for years, and now you're here, pretending to care." Anita flinched. The accusation was sharp, precise, and unexpected. "That's not fair," she stammered. Mama Grace smiled faintly, letting the weight of truth settle. "Fair? Life isn't fair, Anita. But I am, sometimes. You see, I've had time to think while you two schemed. And I've decided to give David a chance, under one condition." David's eyes widened. "Anything, Mama. I'll do anything. Please." Mama Grace leaned closer, lowering her voice just enough for him to hear over the murmurs of the crowd. "I will forgive you if you acknowledge everything you've done publicly and apologize to the people you've hurt, including me." David's stomach churned. Public humiliation? In front of all these cameras? He glanced at Anita, whose lips pressed tightly together, fury and panic flickering in her eyes. I can't," he muttered. "You can," Mama Grace said, stepping back. "And you will. Or you walk out right now, knowing I never forgive betrayal." David's hands trembled. He wanted the money, the reconciliation, the semblance of normalcy. But the thought of being humiliated in public made his heart pound in his chest. Mama Grace turned to the journalists and whispered something. Instantly, cameras clicked faster, reporters leaning closer. Phones came out. The lobby was alive with tension. David's fear grew, and Anita whispered frantically in his ear, "Stop this." She's dangerous. Just go along with it. David nodded slowly, knowing he had no choice. Mama, I apologize. I was wrong. I hurt you. I don't deserve your forgiveness. Mama Grace's eyes flicked to Anita, seeing the anger and shock ripple across her face. And you, Anita, your manipulation ends here. You have turned a son against his mother. You have poisoned home. You will answer for this too. Anita stiffened. What do you mean? I mean, Mama Grace said softly, that everything you've done in secret, every lie, every betrayal, every scheme, I've recorded. Every conversation, every whisper, every attempt to control me. And when the time is right, the world will see. Anita's face went pale. David's stomach sank. The power in Mama Grace's voice was intoxicating, terrifying. Later that night, after the journalist had left, Mama Grace sat in her hotel suite, reviewing recordings she had secretly collected over the past few weeks. Conversations with David, phone calls Anita had made, snippets of greed and manipulation captured perfectly. Her hands shook, not with fear, but anticipation. Every recording was a weapon, and she planned to wield it carefully. David sat across from her, sheepish, guilty, and tense. Mama, I didn't realize how. I was wrong. Please forgive me fully. Mama Grace smiled faintly, sipping tea. David, forgiveness is not a gift you get for the asking. It's something you earn, and you'll need to prove it. He nodded, desperate. Anything, Mama. I'll do anything. She leaned back, considering him. Anything. Yes. I swear. Then you start by acknowledging publicly that I raised you, that I gave you everything I had, and that I was never your burden. David's face paled. Public apology. Humiliation. But he nodded, swallowing hard. He had no choice. Meanwhile, Anita paced nervously, her mind racing. We can't let her do this, she whispered, phone in hand. We need to find out who she's recording, what she's planning. This can't go public. Mama Grace, sensing the tension, turned her gaze toward her. Ah, Anita. Always scheming, always plotting. But you see, I've been quiet too long. You underestimated me. You thought the poor old woman on the street had nothing. But now I have the power to expose everything. Anita's jaw tightened. And you will? Mama Grace smiled. When the time is right. The next day, Mama Grace announced a public event at the hotel, a charity initiative celebrating her lottery win. Invitations were sent out, journalists notified, social media buzzing. The event was set to showcase her generosity, but in reality, it was the perfect stage to expose David and Anita. David and Anita arrived, trying to mask their panic under false smiles. Mama Grace greeted them warmly, offering polite handshakes and calm smiles. I'm so glad you could come, she said. It's a day to celebrate and give back. The room was filled with reporters, photographers, and guests curious about the sudden wealth of Mama Grace. Cameras clicked as she spoke about giving scholarships, supporting local orphanages, and funding women's empowerment projects. But behind the warmth of her words, she had a different purpose. Every mention of generosity was carefully timed. Every anecdote selected to highlight the contrast between her selflessness and David and Anita's greed. And the recordings she had collected, safely backed up, ready for public release. David's palms sweated. Every smile from Mama Grace felt like a knife. Anita's eyes darted nervously from cameras to Mama Grace, realizing they had walked into a trap. As the event ended, Mama Grace invited David to step forward for a small announcement. Cameras focused, reporters leaning in. She held up a phone, one hand on his shoulder. David, she said softly, perhaps it's time the world knew the truth about how you treated me. David froze. Panic surged. He realized this was the moment that would change everything. Mama Grace smiled, calm and powerful, and pressed play on the phone. The room fell silent as voices, David's and Anita's, echoed, revealing their plots, their lies, and their betrayals. Every eye turned toward them. Every face was watching. And David understood, with a sinking heart, that Mama Grace's revenge had begun. If your heart is racing, smash that like button, subscribe, and stay tuned for the next episode of the story. Mama Grace's public expose is about to humiliate David and Anita like never before. You don't want to miss what happens next. David's heart pounded as the first words of the recording played. His own voice, coupled with Anita's, echoed in the hotel ballroom for everyone to hear. The whispers started low, then rose into murmurs, until cameras flashed and reporters gasped. "I just want her out of the house." "She's a burden," David's voice said. Then Anita's sneering reply. "Don't worry. I'll make sure she never sees a naira of that money." David froze. His face turned pale, sweat beading on his forehead. He wanted to run, to grab the phone, to scream, but Mama Grace's calm, measured hand on his shoulder held him in place. The room erupted in murmurs and shocked gasps. Guests whispered, journalists scribbled furiously, and David realized that every lie, every act of greed, every cruel word he and Anita had uttered was now public. Mama Grace stepped forward, addressing the crowd. "Ladies and gentlemen, this is what happens when betrayal meets greed. This is what happens when you forget who raised you, who loved you unconditionally." Her voice carried authority. The reporters leaned in. Cameras clicked. Social media notifications lit up as the footage went viral instantly. David's mouth went dry. He looked at Anita, whose face had turned a ghostly shade of white. Her hands trembled. "Mama, stop. This isn't fair." Mama Grace's eyes glinted with controlled fury. "Fair? Life isn't fair, Anita. But consequences are always real." The fallout was immediate. Within minutes, photos of David and Anita's reactions were circulating on Twitter, Instagram, and Facebook. Hashtags like #GreedySon and #ManipulativeWife trended in Lagos and beyond. Colleagues, friends, and neighbors began calling David's phone, demanding explanations. Anita's family started questioning her choices. David's panic escalated as he realized the scale of exposure. "Mama, please? I can fix this," he stammered. "Fix it." Mama Grace's voice was soft but deadly. "No, David. You don't get to fix betrayal with words after years of mistreatment. You don't get to fix lies with excuses after you've caused pain. The only thing you can do now is witness what your actions have cost you." Anita sank into a chair, trembling. You can't do this. This is my life, my reputation." Mama Grace smiled faintly. "It's also your truth, Anita. And the truth is free for everyone to see." By evening, David had retreated to his apartment, a pit of shame gnawing at him. Anita paced, muttering threats, but Mama Grace's recordings were already circulating online. Videos of their manipulations, attempts to steal her money, and cruel words toward her went viral. Colleagues texted, demanding explanations. Friends blocked their numbers. Their social status, carefully built over years, was crumbling. David sank into his chair, head in his hands. How did she? Anita's voice was trembling with rage. "She planned this. Every word, every smile, everything. She's been waiting for this moment. We walked right into it." David groaned. "I never thought she could." "Could what?" Anita hissed. "Beat us? Publicly humiliate us? She's old." David's stomach sank. Old but not powerless. Meanwhile, Mama Grace sat in her hotel room, calm, sipping tea. The world was at her feet, but she didn't revel in victory. She had bigger plans. The public humiliation was only the first step. Her phone buzzed, a message from a former friend of David's father. The man had contacted her weeks earlier, offering help and advice. Mama Grace smiled. With his guidance, she would secure her wealth legally, protect it from David and Anita, and plan the next phase of her revenge. A knock at her hotel door startled her. It was a journalist with an exclusive offer, a one-on-one interview about her life, her lottery win, and the scandalous fallout. Mama Grace nodded, inviting him in. As the camera rolled, she spoke with grace, intelligence, and authority. She described her life, her sacrifices, her heartbreak at being cast out, and her unexpected fortune. She framed the story carefully, showing herself as a benevolent, wise, and patient woman. And she didn't even mention David and Anita's greed explicitly. Not yet. She let the world connect the dots themselves. By nightfall, Lagos was buzzing. Talk shows debated the ethics of her win and the betrayal she endured. Social media exploded with support for Mama Grace. People admired her restraint, her patience, her cleverness. Memes circulated, news segments replayed her words. David watched helplessly, phone in hand, as the world turned against him. Every friend, every colleague, every connection began questioning his character. Anita, meanwhile, panicked. "We have to do something. We can't let her take everything." David shook his head. "Do what, Anita? She's already too far ahead. She planned this, she's smarter than we ever imagined." But Anita was desperate. She began plotting to sabotage Mama Grace, considering hiring someone to intercept her wealth, disrupt her events, or leak false information. David hesitated. He wanted to cooperate, but fear kept him rooted in place. Mama Grace, however, had anticipated everything. Every scheme Anita could concoct, every desperate move David might make. She had already prepared a countermeasure. The next morning, Mama Grace announced a new initiative, a scholarship for orphans and disadvantaged children, fully funded by her lottery winnings. The press attended in droves, and David and Anita were invited, reluctantly, under the guise of reconciliation. During the ceremony, Mama Grace delivered a speech. "This money is not for revenge," she said softly, smiling. "It is for justice. Justice for those who are often forgotten, who are overlooked, and who are cast aside. But I will not forget the lessons betrayal teaches, nor the courage it demands to rise above it." David's face flushed as whispers spread through the crowd. Anita's jaw tightened. Every word was a reminder of their failures, their greed, their cruelty. As the ceremony ended, Mama Grace stepped aside and whispered into the microphone, just enough for a few cameras to catch it. "Some people think wealth makes them powerful. Others forget that wisdom, patience, and courage make one unstoppable. Watch closely. David and Anita are about to learn this the hard way." David froze. Anita's eyes widened. They realized the storm had only just begun, and Mama Grace was not done. If your heart is racing, smash that like button, subscribe, and stay tuned for the next episode. Mama Grace's secret ally arrives, and the power dynamics are about to shift even further. This is where revenge gets personal. The knock came at Mama Grace's hotel door late in the evening. She hadn't expected anyone, yet instinctively she knew this was no ordinary visitor. She opened the door slowly. Standing there was a tall man in a sharp suit, his eyes keen, his posture confident. "Mama Grace?" he asked, his voice smooth but commanding. "Yes," she replied cautiously, studying him. "Who are you?" The man smiled faintly. "You don't know me, but I knew your husband, David's father. I've been watching, waiting. I believe it's time someone helped you reclaim what is yours." Mama Grace felt a spark of curiosity and a flicker of hope. "Go on," she said, stepping aside to let him in. He entered, closing the door quietly behind him. "I know about the lottery, the betrayal, David and Anita's schemes. You've handled it with remarkable calm, but the next phase requires precision. I can help you secure your legal rights, protect your assets, and ensure they cannot touch a single naira." Mama Grace nodded slowly. She had suspected that her victory would require more than cunning and recordings. She needed guidance, someone who understood law, money, and strategy at a level she had never encountered before. "And what do you want in return?" she asked, cautious. "Nothing but justice," he replied simply. "And to see those who betray, those who are greedy, held accountable. That is payment enough." Mama Grace studied him for a long moment, then extended her hand. "We have a deal." The next morning, with her secret ally's guidance, Mama Grace began filing legal protections over her winnings. Trusts, offshore accounts, and foundations were established quietly, yet thoroughly. Every loophole that David and Anita could exploit was sealed. Every attempt to manipulate her wealth in advance was blocked before it could begin. Meanwhile, David and Anita were still reeling from the public humiliation. They spent hours pacing, panicking, and calling contacts for help. Every plan they devised was already anticipated. Every desperate scheme anticipated by Mama Grace's careful preparation. Anita's voice trembled one evening. David, she's too smart. Every move we make, she's already 10 steps ahead. David shook his head, anger and fear mixing. I can't believe this. I thought we could manipulate her. I thought we could. You thought wrong, Anita said sharply. She's not the same old woman from yesterday. She's untouchable now. Mama Grace, aware of their desperation, smiled quietly in her hotel suite. Her recordings, her public exposure, and her legal safeguards had already begun to isolate David and Anita socially and financially. Neighbors whispered, colleagues watched, and friends questioned loyalties. The walls were closing in on them. But Mama Grace had another move in mind. She wasn't done. That evening, she arranged a meeting with local journalists under the guise of discussing her charitable initiatives. Cameras flashed as she spoke eloquently, emphasizing her commitment to giving back and highlighting the importance of integrity, honesty, and respect. She spoke carefully, each word measured to contrast her virtue with David and Anita's greed, without naming them directly. Within hours, social media exploded again. Hashtags praising her wisdom and generosity went viral. Public sentiment shifted heavily in her favor. David's colleagues avoided him, friends began blocking calls, and Anita's social network began questioning her integrity. Mama Grace watched quietly from her suite, sipping tea. She had become untouchable, admired, and feared all at once. The next morning, Mama Grace received a letter slid under her door. Its envelope was thick, stamped with official seals. Her eyes narrowed as she broke the seal and read, "Your son is coming for everything." Mama Grace's pulse quickened, not with fear, but with anticipation. She knew this day would come. David would not give up easily. She had to be prepared. Her secret ally nodded knowingly. He will attempt to take what he thinks is his. But we've accounted for every move. When he strikes, he will fail spectacularly. Mama Grace smiled faintly. Good. Let him try. By midday, David arrived at the hotel again, this time with a legal representative. His arrogance, tempered by fear, was evident. Mama Grace, he said, trying to sound calm, we need to talk. I want a fair solution. Mama Grace gestured to a chair. Sit, she said, her tone calm but sharp. Let's hear it. David's lawyer spoke first, attempting to negotiate a portion of the winnings, citing vague claims from the past, pretending that David had a right to the money. Mama Grace listened patiently, her fingers steepled, her eyes focused. When the lawyer finished, Mama Grace leaned forward. I am under no obligation to give David a single naira, she said. Everything I have is legally protected, documented, and beyond your reach. But, she paused, letting her words sink in, I am willing to consider reconciliation, but only under terms that reflect justice, truth, and respect. David's face fell. He realized she had anticipated even this approach. Every legal loophole he thought he might exploit was closed. Every desperate ploy neutralized. Anita, standing silently behind him, felt panic rise. We can't lose, we can't. Mama Grace smiled faintly. Oh, you will lose, but in ways you haven't even imagined yet. That evening, Mama Grace reflected on how far she had come. From being thrown out into the streets by the son she raised, to becoming a woman of immense power and influence overnight. She had leveraged her intelligence, patience, and strategic thinking, aided by a mysterious ally, to outmaneuver greed and betrayal. But she knew the final battles were yet to come. David and Anita would not give up easily. They would scheme, manipulate, and attempt sabotage. And Mama Grace was ready. She picked up the phone and whispered softly, almost to herself, let them come. Let them try. I am unstoppable. The next morning, David received an anonymous tip that Mama Grace was planning a public event, one that would not only showcase her generosity, but also expose another secret about Anita's past. David froze, realization dawning. He whispered to Anita, she's planning something big, and we're already behind. Anita's eyes widened with fear. We can't let her do this. We have to stop her, somehow. But deep down, they both knew. Mama Grace had thought of everything. The game had escalated, and Mama Grace was holding all the cards. If you're on the edge of your seat, smash that like button, subscribe, and stay tuned for the episode. Mama Grace's emotional showdown with David will push their betrayal and greed to the breaking point. David slammed the hotel room door behind him, anger and frustration coursing through every vein. Anita followed, her face pale, eyes blazing with fury. "I can't believe this," she hissed. "She's making a mockery of us in front of the whole city." David sank into a chair, rubbing his face. I know. But we can't fight her. Everything we try, she's already 10 steps ahead. Every move we think will work, she's anticipated it." Anita's hands trembled. "She's just a woman, David. A mother. How did she get so smart, so untouchable?" David shook his head. "I don't know. But she's relentless. And she's not done." Meanwhile, Mama Grace sat in her suite, calm and composed. She had received word that David and Anita were panicking. She allowed herself a small smile. Their desperation was predictable, their greed their downfall. Every tear, every tremor of fear, was a testament to her strategy. The next morning, she arranged a private meeting with David. This wasn't just about money anymore. It was about exposing the emotional cruelty he had inflicted over the years. David entered cautiously, guilt etched into his face. "Mama, please, we need to talk." Mama Grace gestured to a chair. "Sit, David. Let's be honest. You've caused pain, betrayal, and shame. And now you're worried about the consequences." David swallowed hard. I never meant for it to go this far. I was wrong, terribly wrong." Mama Grace's eyes glinted. "Wrong isn't enough, David. Apologies are words. Actions are proof. Do you understand that?" Yes, I do," he whispered. Mama Grace leaned forward, her voice soft but sharp. "You've spent your life taking for granted what was freely given. You've manipulated, lied, and betrayed. But now the world sees it, and the world will judge you." David's eyes filled with tears. I know, and I'll do whatever it takes to make this right. Please, Mama, let me try." Mama Grace shook her head slowly. "You cannot undo the past, David, but you can face the truth. And the first step is accountability." David left the room with a heavy heart. His pride had crumbled. His mother's calm, unyielding strength had shattered every plan he had to reclaim power over her. Anita followed, silent, too ashamed and frightened to speak. Outside, the city was alive. Lagos was buzzing with news about Mama Grace's initiatives, her scholarships, and her public exposure of David and Anita's greed. Social media posts, TV segments, and viral videos painted her as a wise, just, and powerful figure. David's colleagues avoided him. Friends blocked calls. Anita's network began unraveling. And Mama Grace? She moved with precision, orchestrating every detail to ensure the consequences were swift, irreversible, and public. But Mama Grace wasn't done. She had another layer of strategy, one that would target Anita's past, revealing secrets that could shatter her social standing. One evening, she invited Anita to her suite under the guise of reconciliation. Anita, desperate to regain control, walked in cautiously. "Mama, I just want to understand. Please." "I want peace," Anita said, her voice shaky. Mama Grace poured tea, her gaze steady. "Peace, Anita, is earned, not demanded. You've manipulated, lied, and betrayed for years. And now the world is watching." Anita's face paled. You can't, you wouldn't." Mama Grace's smile was faint, cold. "Watch and learn." By the next morning, rumors about Anita's past began circulating discreetly among journalists and social media influencers. Connections to failed business ventures, personal indiscretions, and manipulative behaviors were highlighted, not by Mama Grace directly, but by the ripple effect of her careful disclosures. David noticed immediately. His eyes widened. She's attacking Anita now." "Yes," Mama Grace's ally confirmed. "She's playing a different game now. David, Anita, their greed and betrayal have consequences beyond money." David's hand shook. We can't survive this." Mama Grace's voice, calm yet firm, echoed in his memory. "You will witness the power of patience, foresight, and justice. And you will learn it the hardest way." That evening, David confronted Mama Grace once more. "Please, we can fix this. I'll step back from the money. I'll do anything." Mama Grace leaned in, eyes locked on his. "Anything?" "Yes, anything," he whispered. Mama Grace's lips curved into a faint smile. "Then start by facing the truth about your actions, your greed, your betrayal. Publicly. And maybe, just maybe, we can discuss reconciliation." David nodded slowly, realizing he was trapped, not by law, not by wealth, but by the truth. Mama Grace held all the cards. That night, Mama Grace received a mysterious envelope slipped under her door. Its contents chilled her slightly. A photograph of someone she once trusted, a subtle warning. Not everything from your past is gone. Watch closely. Mama Grace's pulse quickened. Someone from her history was back. Someone who could disrupt her careful plan. Her eyes narrowed, determination blazing. "Let them come," she whispered. "They will find that I am unstoppable." If your heart is racing, smash that like button, subscribe, and stay tuned for the next episode of the story. The hidden betrayal from the past emerges, threatening to shake Mama Grace's empire. You won't believe what happens next. Mama Grace stared at the photograph in her hands, her mind racing. It was an image of her late husband's former business partner, Samuel Okoye, a man she thought long gone from her life. His smile in the photo was smug, confident, and subtly threatening. A note accompanied it, typed neatly. "Some debts are never forgiven. Watch closely." Her pulse quickened, not with fear, but with anticipation. Samuel had always been clever, cunning, and ruthless. If he had re-emerged now, it could complicate everything she had worked for. But Mama Grace didn't flinch. She had survived betrayal, manipulation, and greed before. She would survive this too. The next morning, Mama Grace contacted her secret ally. Within hours, he had uncovered the truth. Samuel had been tracking her every move since her lottery win. He intended to claim a portion of her fortune, arguing ties to her late husband's business dealings. The man was not just greedy, he was calculating. Mama Grace leaned back, her eyes cold and determined. "Let him come," she said. "I've faced greed, betrayal, and humiliation. This is just another challenge." Her ally nodded. "We'll protect your assets. We'll neutralize him legally before he even has a chance to strike." Meanwhile, David and Anita were spiraling. David's public humiliation had weakened him socially, financially, and emotionally. Every friend who once defended him now whispered behind his back. Every business associate avoided him. Anita's social circle was collapsing as rumors from Mama Grace's subtle exposures spread further. Anita threw her phone across the room. "We have to do something. She's unstoppable." David rubbed his temples. We can't fight her. She's too smart, too prepared. Every move we make, she's already 10 steps ahead." Anita's eyes blazed. "Then we sabotage her. Find a way to ruin her reputation before she destroys everything." David shook his head. "She's untouchable. I don't even know where to start." Mama Grace, on the other hand, was methodical. She scheduled meetings with financial advisors, lawyers, and media consultants. Every detail of her wealth, every potential legal loophole, every vulnerability had been anticipated and addressed. She wasn't just defending her fortune. She was reinforcing it, building an empire that David, Anita, and even Samuel could not penetrate. Yet the photograph lingered in her mind. Samuel was unpredictable, dangerous. She needed to prepare for a confrontation that was likely inevitable. That evening, an invitation arrived at Mama Grace's hotel suite, a formal dinner hosted by Samuel Okoye himself. The note read, "Let's discuss what's rightfully mine. I expect you to attend." Mama Grace studied the note carefully. Attending could be dangerous. Ignoring it could escalate his threats. She picked up the phone and consulted her ally. "Go," he advised. "You will not face him alone. We will ensure you have the upper hand legally, socially, and strategically." Mama Grace nodded. "Then I will go. I've faced worse than Samuel Okoye." The dinner was held in a luxurious rooftop restaurant in Lagos, with panoramic views of the city lights. Samuel was already there, seated with a smirk, exuding confidence and control. "Ah, Mama Grace," he said, rising to greet her. "So good to see you. I hear congratulations are in order for your windfall." Mama Grace smiled politely, her posture straight, her eyes unwavering. "Thank you, Samuel. But I didn't come to exchange pleasantries. I came to discuss your intentions, and I want them in plain terms." Samuel leaned back, smirking. "Intentions? Why, Mama Grace, I simply want what is mine. A share of the fortune, a recognition of my rights." Mama Grace's lips curved into a faint smile. "Rights? You mean greed. You've been gone for years, yet suddenly, because of a lottery win, you reappear claiming entitlement." Samuel's expression hardened. "I'm not here to argue morality. I'm here to negotiate." The conversation escalated, but Mama Grace remained composed. Every word she spoke was measured, confident. She referenced legal documents, carefully protected assets, and her independent fortune. Samuel could challenge her legally, but he had no standing. "You see, Samuel," Mama Grace said softly, "the world changes quickly, and those who wait too long, who scheme and manipulate, often lose." Samuel's smirk faltered. He realized slowly that Mama Grace had anticipated his every move. His power, his plans, his threats, none of them could touch her. Meanwhile, back in Lagos, David and Anita learned of Samuel's emergence. They realized the complexity of Mama Grace's world now extended beyond them. Fear gripped them. David whispered, panic rising, "She's not just smart, she's untouchable. Samuel, he could have ruined her, but she's ready for him. And us." Anita's face turned pale. "Then what do? We're finished." As the dinner ended, Mama Grace walked away from Samuel with calm authority. But as she stepped into her car, a shadowy figure approached the rear of the building. Phones flashed. Cameras caught fleeting glimpses. Mama Grace felt a chill run down her spine, not from fear, but from recognition. She whispered under her breath, "Not yet, but the real test begins tomorrow." If your heart is racing, hit that like button, subscribe, and stay tuned for next episode. Mama Grace faces the ultimate betrayal, and a dangerous game of power and revenge takes an unexpected twist. You won't believe who reemerges next. Mama Grace's phone buzzed incessantly as she entered her suite. Every notification, every text, every news alert confirmed what she already suspected. David and Anita were desperate. Social media was ablaze with speculation about Samuel Okoye's reemergence. The city whispered about what this new threat could mean for her. But Mama Grace remained calm. She had survived greed, betrayal, public humiliation, and even her son's cruelty. Samuel was merely the next challenge. Her secret ally stepped into the room. "He's already making moves," he said, voice grave. "Samuel is leveraging old contacts, trying to gather information about your assets. He thinks you're vulnerable because he's back." Mama Grace smiled faintly. "Vulnerable? No. Prepared? Absolutely. Let him come. I faced worse than him and survived." Meanwhile, David and Anita were plotting frantically. They had discovered Samuel's presence and assumed it was an opportunity to align with him, regain influence, and possibly regain control of Mama Grace's fortune. David paced the small apartment they had taken to hide from public scrutiny. "Anita, we can't beat her. But Samuel might help us. If we join him, maybe we can regain leverage." Anita shook her head, frustration mixing with fear. "Are you crazy? She's already 10 steps ahead. We would just be pawns in her game. We're finished, David. She's untouchable." David's jaw tightened. "We don't have a choice. Samuel is the only chance to take her down." Back at Mama Grace's hotel suite, she reviewed every detail of her legal structures, every recording, and every strategy. She had anticipated Samuel's moves, David and Anita's desperation, and the potential chaos that might arise. She wasn't just defending herself. She was orchestrating their downfall. Her phone rang. It was a private number. "Mama Grace," a voice said, familiar and smooth. "You've been careful. I admire that. But don't underestimate the lengths some people will go for money and revenge." "Who is this?" she demanded, eyes narrowing. "You'll see soon enough," the voice replied, a hint of menace in its tone. The line went dead. Mama Grace's pulse quickened. This wasn't Samuel. This was someone else. Someone who knew her past. Someone who could challenge everything she had built. The following day, Samuel called for a private meeting at a secluded office in downtown Lagos. Mama Grace agreed to attend, confident yet cautious. She arrived early, scanning every corner, every exit, every security measure. Samuel appeared moments later, flanked by 2 men in suits. "Mama Grace," he said, smiling thinly, "I'm pleased you came. Let's discuss terms." Mama Grace took a deep breath. "Let's be clear, Samuel. I'm not negotiating. Your claims are baseless. Any attempt to interfere with my wealth or plans will be met with full legal action." Samuel's smile didn't waver. "We'll see about that. I've gathered information. I know things about your past. Secrets. Vulnerabilities. Don't think I won't use them." Mama Grace's eyes narrowed. "Secrets? I've faced betrayal, lies, and greed before. If you attempt to threaten me, you will only reveal your own weaknesses." Meanwhile, David and Anita received a tip from an anonymous source, a hidden document that could supposedly compromise Mama Grace. Anita's eyes lit up with hope. "This is it, David. This is how we take her down." David hesitated. "We can't be sure. It could be a trap." "It's the only chance we have," Anita said, determination flashing in her eyes. "We strike tonight. If we don't, we're finished." Mama Grace, however, was prepared. Her ally had anticipated this move, planting controlled leaks, fake vulnerabilities, and decoys. Every potential attack, every desperate attempt by David and Anita would be neutralized before it reached her. That night, David and Anita approached the hotel stealthily, hoping to uncover secrets that would ruin Mama Grace. Cameras caught their movements, security was alerted, and every step they took was documented. Inside her suite, Mama Grace and her ally monitored their actions. "They think they can manipulate, they think they can steal," she murmured. "They have no idea what awaits them." As David and Anita entered the corridor, trying to avoid cameras, an unexpected figure appeared. The same shadowy person who had called Mama Grace earlier. The figure's face was obscured, voice distorted. "You shouldn't be here," the figure said, and a sudden noise startled them. Security converged, surrounding them instantly. David's heart raced. "Mama, she set this up. It's a trap." Anita's eyes widened. "We've walked right into it." Mama Grace watched from the monitors, calm and precise. "Yes," she whispered. "You walked right into it. And now, you will face the consequences of greed and betrayal." David and Anita were caught, exposed, and helpless. But as Mama Grace prepared to deal the final blow, a mysterious envelope slid under her suite door, sealed, unmarked, and ominous. Mama Grace picked it up slowly. Inside was a single card with one word typed in bold. Betrayal. Her heart skipped. Someone from her past, someone she trusted long ago, was back. And this time, they could threaten everything. If your pulse is racing, hit that like button, subscribe, and stay tuned for the next episode. Mama Grace faces a shocking betrayal from her past that could undo everything. You won't believe who has returned. Mama Grace stared at the card in her hands, her pulse steady, but her mind racing. One word, betrayal. She knew immediately who it was. Samuel Okoye wasn't acting alone. Someone from her past, someone she had once trusted implicitly, had returned, determined to undermine everything she had built. Her fingers trembled slightly, not with fear, but with the awareness that the stakes had just multiplied. She had survived betrayal before, David, Anita, Samuel. But this was different. This was personal. By evening, she had uncovered the truth. It was Patricia Adebayo, her former business partner and close friend from her husband's company. Years ago, Patricia had secretly envied Mama Grace's sharp mind, her influence, and her ability to command respect. Now seeing her fortune and status, Patricia had resurfaced, determined to seize a piece of it. Mama Grace's lips pressed into a thin line. "So you're back," she whispered, a mixture of recognition and resolve in her voice. Her ally, observing her reaction, nodded. "She's dangerous. Patricia knows your strategies, your thinking. But we can counter her, if we act swiftly. Mama Grace's gaze hardened. Then we move. She wants a fight? She will get one, but not on her terms. Meanwhile, David and Anita were still reeling from the trap set in Chapter 7. Security footage and viral videos of their failed attempt to sabotage Mama Grace had spread across Lagos. Friends turned away, colleagues abandoned them, and the public scorn was relentless. Anita slammed her fists against the wall. "We're done, David. She's untouchable." David buried his face in his hands. We should have known. Every step we took, she anticipated it. She's unstoppable." They didn't yet know that Patricia's subtle manipulations were already in motion, threatening to complicate their lives further. Mama Grace began her counter-strategy with precision. She invited Patricia to a private meeting under the pretense of reconciliation, knowing Patricia's pride and desire for control would lead her to accept. Patricia entered, radiant and confident, exuding power and ambition. "Grace," she said, her tone smooth, "it's been a long time. I've watched your eyes, and I must admit, I'm impressed. But you've taken more than your share. Don't you think it's time we'd share?" Mama Grace's eyes narrowed. "Share? Patricia, this isn't a game. You've envied, schemed, and betrayed before. Why should this time be different?" Patricia smiled faintly. "Because this time, I have the leverage. I know things, your weaknesses, your past. And if we work together, we could dominate the city's financial world. Imagine the power." Mama Grace's lips curved into a thin, controlled smile. "Power built on betrayal is never stable. I've learned that the hard way. You underestimate me if you think I'll fall for this." The tension was palpable. Both women were calculating, measuring words, testing each other's resolve. Patricia leaned in slightly. "Grace, don't pretend. I know you're afraid. Afraid that someone from your past can undo everything you fought for. I can." Mama Grace remained unmoved. "Afraid? No. I'm prepared. And unlike you, I don't depend on manipulation or deceit to maintain power. I rely on intelligence, patience, and strategy. And that makes me untouchable, even to someone like you." Patricia's eyes flickered with irritation, realizing Mama Grace's confidence was unshakable. Meanwhile, David and Anita watched from afar, desperate and broken. They had no idea how much stronger Mama Grace had become, how carefully she had structured every legal, social, and financial move. Patricia's emergence added a new layer of complexity, but they were powerless, caught in the wake of Mama Grace's strategy. "David, she's going to crush everyone," Anita whispered, panic rising. "She's unstoppable." David shook his head. "We're done. There's nothing we can do now. We've lost everything." Mama Grace, aware of Patricia's intentions, turned the tables. She planted subtle misinformation, feeding Patricia false leads about hidden wealth and supposed vulnerabilities. Patricia, eager and ambitious, fell into the trap, overextending herself and revealing her own weaknesses. By the next day, Patricia's attempts to manipulate journalists, legal representatives, and social networks were carefully neutralized by Mama Grace's network. Patricia had underestimated Mama Grace's foresight, her patience, and her ability to anticipate every move. Mama Grace observed quietly, sipping tea, the calm of a storm at her command. She had survived public humiliation, family betrayal, and now a former friend trying to exploit her past. She had outmaneuvered every challenge. That night, Mama Grace received a call from an unknown number. The voice was cold, familiar, and unmistakable. "Grace, you think you're untouchable. Tomorrow everything changes." Mama Grace's eyes narrowed. She knew immediately the real storm was approaching. Not Samuel, not David, not Anita, not even Patricia. It was someone else. Someone who had been hiding, waiting for the perfect moment to strike. She whispered under her breath, calm but resolute, "Let them come. I've faced betrayal before. I will survive this too, and I will win." If your heart is racing, hit that like button, subscribe, and stay tuned for the next episode. The ultimate betrayal emerges, forcing Mama Grace into a life-or-death battle of wits, wealth, and revenge. You won't believe who returns next. Mama Grace sat in her suite, her eyes scanning the city lights of Lagos. The phone call from the unknown voice still echoed in her mind. Tomorrow, everything changes. She had faced betrayal before: David, Anita, Samuel, Patricia. But something about this felt different. Calculated, personal, dangerous. Her secret ally entered, carrying a folder thick with intelligence. We've traced the number. The caller. It's someone from your very inner circle. Someone you trusted completely. Mama Grace's eyes narrowed. Who? Her ally's voice was grim. Your adopted son, David's younger brother, Michael. He's been manipulating events from the shadows, waiting for the perfect moment to strike. He's aligned himself with Patricia and Samuel, leveraging their greed against you. This isn't just about money anymore. It's revenge, deep and personal. Mama Grace exhaled slowly, steadying herself. She had raised Michael, nurtured him, guided him. And now betrayal came from within. Meanwhile, David and Anita were oblivious to Michael's involvement. They were still recovering from their public humiliation and Patricia's failed manipulation, desperate for any chance to regain control. Anita paced the small apartment they had taken. David, this is bigger than us. She's untouchable. But if we align with someone powerful, Michael, maybe we have a chance. David frowned, anxiety written across his face. Michael? He's unpredictable. You sure we can trust him? Anita shook her head. Does it matter? He's the only one who can help us now. Otherwise, we're finished. The next morning, Mama Grace arrived at her office, a calm storm in her posture. Security had been doubled, surveillance upgraded, and every legal safeguard reinforced. Michael had planned an ambush, financial and social, but she was ready. Minutes later, the first message arrived on her private line, a detailed threat from Michael outlining how he intended to seize her assets, destroy her reputation, and publicly disgrace her. Mama Grace smiled faintly. She had anticipated this. Every move, every threat, every plan had a counter, one that Michael would never see coming. By afternoon, Michael arrived at her estate confident, flanked by a few allies. Mama Grace, he said, his voice smooth but tense, it's time to face the consequences of your actions. You've controlled everyone for too long. Today, I take what's mine. Mama Grace rose slowly, calm but commanding. Michael, I raised you. I guided you. I taught you integrity, strength, patience. And yet here you are, standing against everything I've taught you. Michael's jaw tightened. I'm not a child anymore. I'm claiming my right. Mama Grace's ally stepped forward, confident. You're making a mistake, Michael. You've been outmaneuvered at every turn. And you're about to see just how prepared Mama Grace really is. The confrontation escalated quickly. Michael attempted to access financial accounts, believing he had leverage over Patricia and Samuel. But Mama Grace had anticipated every connection, every ally, every trick. Legal safeguards, decoys, and misinformation neutralized his every move. David and Anita watched from afar, panicked. She's too smart, David whispered. Michael is being trapped by her strategy. Anita's face turned pale. We have no chance. None. Mama Grace, observing the chaos unfold, approached Michael directly. Do you see, Michael? Every betrayal, every scheme, every act of greed has consequences. You think aligning with Patricia and Samuel gives you power, but it only exposes your own weaknesses. Michael faltered. Doubt flickered across his face. He realized, finally, that Mama Grace had anticipated every possible move. She had turned his ambition and envy into his downfall. By nightfall, Michael, Patricia, and Samuel were cornered, exposed, and defeated. Social media captured their failures, journalists reported their humiliation, and every public figure who had once supported them distanced themselves. Mama Grace had not only defended her empire, but had orchestrated a spectacular downfall of those who betrayed her. David and Anita, broken and humiliated, faced the final truth. Mama Grace was untouchable. Their greed, manipulation, and betrayal had cost them everything. As Mama Grace stood alone in her suite, victorious, a subtle knock sounded at the door. Her eyes narrowed. It was late. No one should be visiting. She opened it cautiously and froze. Standing there, drenched in rain, was a familiar figure from her past, a face she never expected to see again. And in their hand, a single envelope marked simply, "The Truth." Mama Grace's heart raced, not with fear, but with the realization that the final chapter of her story was about to begin. If your heart is pounding, hit that like button, subscribe, and stay tuned for the next episode. The final confrontation where secrets, betrayal, and revenge collide in a shocking conclusion. You won't want to miss this dramatic finale. Mama Grace held the envelope tightly in her hands, feeling its weight, not just physically, but emotionally. The familiar figure standing before her was someone she had trusted with her deepest secrets years ago. Her oldest friend and confidant, Deborah Johnson. Her heart raced, but she remained composed. "Deborah," Mama Grace's voice was steady but wary. "After all these years, why are you here?" Deborah stepped inside, rain dripping from her coat, eyes glinting with a mixture of regret and determination. "Grace, I didn't know how to reach you. I've seen everything. The lottery, David, Anita, Samuel, Patricia. I have information you need. It's about Michael." Mama Grace's brow furrowed. "Go on." Deborah handed her the envelope. Inside were documents, recordings, and photographs, proving that Michael had been manipulated not only by Patricia and Samuel, but also by a shadowy network trying to exploit Mama Grace's past. They had planned to use his envy and ambition to destabilize her fortune and reputation. Mama Grace's eyes widened slightly, but her calm quickly returned. She had anticipated betrayal, but knowing the full scope of it gave her the final advantage. Meanwhile, David and Anita were in hiding, desperate and broken. Every attempt to reclaim power, every desperate scheme, had failed spectacularly. Their reputation was in ruins, their social circle gone, their fortune inaccessible. Anita's voice trembled. "David, we're done. She's untouchable." David's eyes burned with frustration and defeat. I never thought it would end like this. She outsmarted us at every turn." And she had. Mama Grace's next move was swift and decisive. She summoned Michael, Samuel, and Patricia to her suite, armed with Deborah's evidence. The tension was palpable as she addressed them directly. "Michael," she said, her voice calm but firm, "you were used. Manipulated by greed, envy, and ambition. You trusted the wrong people, and your choices brought you here, to the brink of total ruin. But you can still make amends." Michael's face was pale, his defiance faltering. "Grace, I didn't know." "You knew enough," Mama Grace interrupted gently. "And that's why you must face the consequences. But this is not just about punishment. It's about justice, accountability, and truth." Samuel and Patricia were next. Their expressions hardened, realizing their schemes had been meticulously dismantled. Mama Grace laid out every piece of evidence, every strategic move, and every legal safeguard she had employed. "Your greed, your manipulation, your betrayal, they end here," she said. "You will not touch a single naira, nor tarnish my name again." Patricia's face paled. You were always 10 steps ahead." Mama Grace smiled faintly. "And I always will be." By nightfall, the city was abuzz with news. David, Anita, Michael, Samuel, and Patricia had been exposed, their schemes publicized, their reputation shattered. Social media erupted with praise for Mama Grace, her intelligence, patience, and moral strength lauded by thousands. She had transformed from a victim of betrayal to a powerful, untouchable force. Deborah stood by her side, smiling. "You've done it, Grace. You've survived every betrayal, every attack, and come out stronger." Mama Grace nodded, a mixture of relief and satisfaction washing over her. "I've learned that strength isn't just about wealth. It's about patience, foresight, and the courage to face every betrayal with clarity. And now it's time to reclaim my life." David and Anita, broken and humiliated, were left to face the ruins of their plans. Michael, confronted with his own failures and manipulated choices, finally accepted responsibility. Samuel and Patricia were powerless, exposed, and defeated. Mama Grace, standing on her balcony, looking out over Lagos, whispered softly to herself, "I am unstoppable. I am free. And I am victorious." Just as she turned to leave, another message appeared on her phone, a lottery ticket notification she had forgotten she purchased months ago. The numbers matched. Another win, another fortune. Mama Grace smiled. Her resilience had not only preserved her empire, but expanded it beyond imagination. If you've been captivated by Mama Grace's journey, smash that like button, subscribe, and share this story. Witness the full saga of betrayal, revenge, and triumph that proves intelligence, patience, and courage always prevail.